Hi everyone, this is Jacob, country launcher for BNEXT in Mexico, and I'm gonna explain to you the 5 key mistakes we had when we launched operations in Mexico and what we did to overtake them and get over them. First, real quick, I'm going to explain to you what is BNEXT. BNEXT is a Spanish fintech, what they call neobanks. We offer a debit card and a digital wallet and account, and we offer our users an app from which they can control the 100% of their financial life with a marketplace of financial products, insurance, loans, and any other financial product that you can think of. We have more than 400,000 clients here in Spain, and the story I'm going to talk to you about starts back in July 2019 when Guillermo asked me to go to Mexico and launch operations in a whole new continent, in a whole new country where we didn't have a single client, single person, and a single integration. So this is what happened. I had to think about it, of course. I had to talk to my girlfriend and talk with my family and see if this big life change made sense. It wasn't a hard decision because I've been at BNEXT from day one, and launching a new continent was an amazing opportunity. So there I was, on October 1st. I remember that was the day when I arrived in Mexico. We had no office, we had no legal entity, we hadn't even signed the final deal with the entity that was going to open and deliver and create the cards that our users were going to use. So I was pretty alone, and of course there was a lot of mistakes we did, although we were planning this for quite a while. But I want to share this information and this experience with you, so in case you're going to launch a new country, you don't have the same mistakes as I did. Well, first of all, the first mistake we did was underestimate the importance of having a Mexico legal entity. So our hypothesis was that having a Mexican legal entity was something that was not gonna delay our launch, right? Because we had time to be getting our platform, our technological platform ready, our integration with the banking as a service provider that was gonna open the accounts and create the physical cards. However, that was not the reality. The reality was that we needed a legal entity to do our first production tests with the banking as a service platform. We needed our Mexican legal entity to sign any deal with, for instance, the logistics provider that was going to deliver the cards to the users, and this with several other providers that we needed to test, of course, for a few weeks before we had the final launch. And what did we do to get over this? So it was a prioritization of tasks, right? Let's say if I had 20 tasks, prioritize, maybe the legal entity was number 15. At some point we made legal entity maybe not the first but the second priority of the whole company. We had our operations manager come to Mexico right away, and together with me find ways to get our legal entity working ASAP. Talk with lawyers, get the best law firm in Mexico, the best advisors, so that we could somehow get it faster. All the people we had close, they told us that it took them from 5 to 6 months to get their legal entity working. This could not be the case for us because I arrived in October and we were expecting to have a first beta, at least internal beta of the product in December, so two and a half months from the moment I had arrived there. And in January we needed to have our final launch with real users. So 5-6 months was not a chance for us, and people thought it would not be possible, but thanks to Loreto, our operations manager there in Mexico, we were able to reduce that time from 5 months to less than 2 months. So in 1 month and a half we already had our legal entity working. We could sign all our deals, do all our production tests, and actually the first card was used and tested in December, and we did have our final launch in January 2020. The second mistake, and I guess if you've launched in a different country or different continent, you've maybe had this experience, is belief acquisition funnels will work the same way in the other country than it was working in your original country. That was our hypothesis, right? We launched our fintech in Spain in 2018, and of course we had some optimization to do there. Let's say our funnel, our activation funnel, so the conversion rate from a sign up to a physical activation card in Spain is over 70%. We expected, of course, maybe not for it to be the same in Mexico, and maybe close. The truth is, when we launched, our first tests showed us a conversion rate of less than 20%. And that was a big deal, of course. That was increasing acquisition costs. It was impacting our user acquisition KPIs. And what did we do? Well, let's say we started from scratch. No hypothesis, no previous experience was useful, let's say, in this process. And we hired a local research team, and it was the team together with me that we started to research, ask Mexican people about what they expected from our product, go to the data and really get really deep in how Mexican people were using our product, so that we could change the onboarding process and do a completely different onboarding process than that of Spain. Although the steps are basically the same, as we are a fintech entity and we work with regulated entities, we need to pass through some legal requirements, but we rethought and we thought of the process as if we were starting our startup with no previous experience. And this is a process we're still in. Of course, we've launched only 4 months ago, and we're in the process of optimizing this. But when you think of your product in a new country as a separate product, the truth is that KPIs really start going up instead of going down. The third mistake has relation to talent, right? When I arrived to Mexico and when we were thinking of how to build the team, we expected that hiring talent and managing culture was going to be cheap and easy, right? People expect that when you go to a country that is, let's say, less developed than the case that we had with Spain, so Mexico is a less developed country than Spain, talent should be cheaper, right? And it is true if you think of it on a general basis that salaries or average salaries might be lower, but the truth is that hiring good talent in Mexico is in some cases more expensive, and it's definitely harder than it was in Spain. So our hypothesis was that it would be cheap and easy. The reality was that for the first 3-4 weeks there was no way I could find people that at least I thought or I felt that were the people I needed for my team. I believe that the people, especially when you're a small startup in a new country, that's what I felt like, right? I arrived alone and I had to create a team of 10 to 20 people in a few months. The first 10 to 20 people in a startup are crucial, right? They can either be the key of success or the key to failure, right? So I couldn't just hire anyone, and it was really hard for the first few weeks to find talent. And when I found talent, it was hard to find the correct salary, right, for them. And what did we do? So the first thing is raise your hand and ask for help. Here we had a lot of help from our investors, our local Mexican investors. They helped us understand how the Mexican process of hiring is, where the talent hubs were in Mexico, and they also put us in contact with some other people. I was like, any event I went to, I was asking people, okay, can you help me understand how the salary process works in Mexico? How can I do to find talent? How talent structures works in Mexico? And this was amazingly useful for us. I had a specific contact that became a friend throughout the weeks and months, that 3 months prior to me arriving to Mexico had already launched a really successful company there in Mexico and had passed through the same pains as me. That person actually helped me bring two of the key people that we have currently in Mexico from one of his previous companies, and also taught me on the big discrepancies or extremes that happen in Mexico, right? People are either paid really low amount of money for the same work, let's say in Spain, or much more money, right? It's in Mexico. It's all about extremes, right? For in the high part and the low part. So that at least allowed me to understand what I should do and what kind of offers I should do to those people that I wanted to hire for my company. And 3 weeks from those conversations with my investors from the local referrals, and also going to a lot of events, a lot of recruiting fairs. I had my basic 10 people team who already hired. They are all still in the company and we're incredibly happy with their performance. So it seemed that at least it worked. Then the fourth mistake was underestimating the time difference between Spain and Mexico, especially in the integration with our banking as a service platform, right? So although BNEXT provides cards and virtual accounts, when we arrive to Mexico, we of course we are not a regulated entity, so we don't have the ability to issue cards and digital wallets ourselves. So we need to partner with a banking as a service provider. This is the key or the core of our product, and we underestimated how hard it was going to be for our Spanish team that was developing the core technological product to interact with the Mexican team that had this banking as a service platform. Our hypothesis was that it would be easy and that it would not require much effort, at least from my side. The truth and the reality was that it was incredibly painful, because any issue that we encountered in Mexico after, let's say, 8 p.m. in Spain was a whole day that we were losing of technological efforts. So efforts were delayed, and this was putting in risk our launch time between December and January. So what did I do to overtake this? Physical presence. So I would go 3 times a week to our banking as a service provider in Mexico, get real close contact with them, and also requesting our Spanish team to change a bit the time they were working so that we had more hours, right? If you think about a common working schedule, like from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m., that would mean that we would only have 3 hours of common working time with Mexico. We required our Spanish team to start working later and finish working later, and we requested the Mexican banking as a service platform to have their teams work from 2 or 3 hours earlier, so we had more hours working together. And also it was me going physically to the banking as a service provider 3 times a week so that I could help solve the communication issues that we could have, because working from a camera, especially when you're not used to and when you are working with teams that have never worked together, as it was the case with our Spanish team and the Mexican provider, I was, let's say, the translator when there were issues, and trying to get a really good relationship with this banking as a service provider. So we had their tech and product team working with us as if we were the same team. This proved to be really well, and especially we could see that as days and weeks passed, our efficiency was increasing a lot. And although I remember start of December things were really dark, we didn't believe. At some point we had one of those days when you believe things are not gonna happen in the times that we had told our investors that it would happen. So but they happened. In the end, we were able to launch our first card internally in December, and our first launch with users in January, and our relationship with the banking and service provider has been incredible since then. And also we found a lot of processes that are helping us improve our product now that it's live, and solve issues much faster with them. And then last but of course not least, business culture. That was an incredible big mistake, and it was think the Spanish business culture would somehow work with Mexicans, and here the thought was, okay, they speak the same language as us. I had been previously to Mexico City, and although it's a huge and massive city, I feel I somehow connect or vibe together with Mexicans. The truth is that it has nothing to do, business culture has nothing to do with that of Spain. And I'll give you a couple of examples here. In Mexico, in Spain for instance, the big, one of the big business events is lunch, right? We normally have long lunch in which we do business decisions with strategical partners, and that allow us to interact and, let's say, don't lose working time, meet new people, and maybe make make good business decisions. In Mexico, it's not lunch, but it's breakfast, and it's breakfast that start really early and that can take, instead of what would be a common breakfast in Spain, like a 20-30 minute breakfast, in Mexico it can become a 2-3 hour breakfast that is basically like a meal, right? This had a lot of impact because at the start, for instance, I had my dailies with my team at 8:30 a.m. I had to change this completely because I realized that I would need to have a lot of breakfast with different people so I could understand and meet relevant players in the industry and get to know the Mexican fintech industry better. I had these breakfasts from 7 a.m. till 9:30, so I had to delay my daily meetings. Also, another example that if you've worked in Mexico, you definitely know this, is the word ahorita. The word ahorita in Spain, it would mean right away. Like if I'm asking a provider, okay, when will you have this integration I really need for my product? They would say, yeah, ahorita, I will have it ahorita. So I would expect that maybe that day or the following day, at least I will have news or an MVP to keep my integration going. The truth is that ahorita in Mexico means that, or could mean that it's never going to happen. This is a cultural thing that even Mexicans admit, and it's something you need to get used to, right? You need to get used to the expressions and the way things happen in Mexico. Some people say it's not efficient. I don't agree with this. Actually, Mexican partners have proven to be amazingly efficient. It's a matter of understanding the wording, right? Sometimes when people, at the start, when people told me things were going to happen ahorita, I would just expect or wait for things to happen. Now, when I hear ahorita, I try to get more information. So could you please explain to me, what do you mean? Am I going to be able to prove something this afternoon? Am I going to be able to get something tomorrow or this week? And then people would elaborate on their answer, and it would allow me at least to plan ahead and plan accordingly to what was going to happen in reality. And yeah, I was able to get this correctly and get the Mexican team working, and together with our local experts and local team, I was able to understand how Mexican culture works, and now I feel more Mexican almost than Spanish, and things are working pretty smoothly. And this is it. So if I were to just tell you a short conclusion on this, I can tell you that jumping to a new continent will definitely be different than operating in your local and comfy place. And if I were to give you 3 tips, I would tell you, first of all, do loads of research. We did some, but we would have needed maybe a bit more, especially for instance in the legal and business part. Second, find a local trusted partner that helps you. In our case, it was our investors and then some friends and colleagues we had made throughout the previous months. And then the third, get locals in your team ASAP and make sure that they are at least 50% of your team. Don't think that with a local with a team with people from your local country, it's going to work. It's not going to work. You need people from the place you're operating in, and the sooner the better. But although there's a lot of things that are going to go wrong, there's also a lot you're going to learn, and I can tell you that launching a new country, a new continent is definitely a lot of fun. So thank you for listening. It was a pleasure. Happy to contact any of you through email, LinkedIn, or any other platform that you can think of, and hope you enjoy the rest of this conference.